Coming with me this morning, we got an Audi A4 Touring, and we got a little bit of wonky suspension on it. I'm going to show you now. With a little tape measure. As you can see, we have got 68.5 inches on the passenger side. Come around to the driver's side, and we've got 66. So I'm probably thinking we've either got a broken coil spring or something like that. Let's have a little look. Now, as you can see, I've got the vehicle fully raised, and the first thing we're going to be checking is the road springs themselves, and they are, believe it or not, in perfect condition, both sides. Now, I've checked all the bushes, the arms and stuff like that for play. I've put a bar in there, both sides, and both rear coil springs are perfect. Where do we go from here? We come right round to the front, and as you can see, right up there, we have got a failed coil spring. And also, having a little look underneath the vehicle, we've got a driver side, passenger side CV boot that has failed as well. So let's get involved. Now, before we send the vehicle up in the air, we do need to undo the 4 bolts holding the top strut mount on. There is one fiddly which is right down there, down the side of the wiring loom, so be extra careful. Take the 3 out and leave 1 in. Now we've got the vehicle fully raised, you can see where the coil spring is broke, which is just round here. Now, there's many ways you can do this. You can try and undo this bolt here. 9 times out of 10 they seize and they cause all sorts of problems, but how we're going to be doing it is removing these 2 top suspension arms with the 16s at the back there. Now, to make things a little bit easier for yourself, remove the caliper carrier so you're not pulling on any pipes and hoses, and secure it up there with a little bit of an exhaust hanger. And you also want to remove the dry shaft, because you don't want to be pulling that out of the box or whatever. Now you've got to come underneath, just remove the anti-roll bar. I have done it up here before now, but it is a bit of a struggle getting a bolt back in, because we drop it at the bottom, and if we can drop the car back down now and undo that pinch bolt, and it should all just lower down. Once we've now got everything out of the way, we need to come back underneath the bonnet and undo our last 16. And as you're undoing it, put your hand underneath and grab that strut, and it saves it from dropping. And just like that, that is 1 strut off. Now, what I've done and what I like to do is mark everything, obviously that way it goes into the hub. Mark it there and mark it there on the top mount, so you know that everything is going back together in line, and you're not going to have any more either fighting with it when you're putting it back to the vehicle. Once we've got the strut now in the coil spring compressor, I'm using this adapter here rather than clamp the spring. It's much easier. And what I like to do is undo the nut at the top on the shock absorber first while the weight's on it, and we can just slacken. Oh, I'm not slacking. We'll close the gate like so. Get my gun. Compress the coil spring down, back it off, and then we can release the tension and get that spring out. Top one. And there you have it, that is 1 new coil spring fitted now, and everything is lined up perfect as it should be. Now, these bolts that secure it, what I'm going to be doing is putting a tiny little bit of copper slip on them. It's not going to hurt, and we can get this fitted back to the vehicle. Now we've got it pretty much 95% assembled. Now, before you tighten these back bushes up, get yourself a transmission jack, go underneath the bottom arm and jack it up as high as you can so it's in a road level position, and then we can go ahead and tighten these bolts up. And also, before you tighten this pinch bolt up on the strut, give it a little bit of a tap with a hammer while the load's on it, and that'll make sure that it's sitting correctly at the bottom of that joint there. And that is this side now all put back together. When you put the wheel back on, give it a big spin and make sure that that back plate on the back side of the disc isn't catching anywhere, because that is rather annoying. Let's go around to the other side and do the CV boot. Now we're around at the passenger side and replacing the CV boot. Normally you can take the shaft out of the hub without disturbing any of the upper suspension arms, but for some reason, I don't know whether this is a 4x4, whether it's because it's a 4-wheel drive or what, I do not know, but I've had to just undo the top arms. We've got access now to the dry shaft itself, and what we're going to be using is a stretch boot. A lot of you are going to cry now, but not to panic. This is perfectly fine for what we're going to be doing. And we're just going to be sliding that straight over the joint to save separating it all. And there we have it, that is all back together now with a brand new CV boot. Now what I've done to give everything a bit of a clean down as best as I can with a bit of old elbow grease. One thing I do like to do is put the CV boot clips straight in line. It looks awesome. Anyway, let's get it off the ramp and torque these wheels up. Anyway, this one has got me a little bit. Now, I did get it off the ramp and I measured all the suspension and I wasn't quite happy with how it was sitting on the driver's side rear. So, as you can see, the rear coil spring that we've got here, it hasn't failed and it is in perfect condition. And it is an original one because it's still got the paint on. I'm putting this down to a coil spring sagging. I've put a brand new coil spring on this side now. Now straight across the back axle there now, between the floor and the centre of the wheel arch, both sides we've got about 70 inches either side, so I'm happy. Now that we've got the vehicle back on the floor, I don't know whether you can see it, but that is now nigh on dead level. Now this has tested me, I'm not going to lie, but we do not give up. We do find the faults and we do get them rectified. Even though it did take a little bit of time, but anyway, let's get it started.